Thank you very much. I think in the presentation so far, we've heard that 13 to 20% of the oil palm is on peat in different countries in the region, but 30 to 71% of the oil palm plantation emissions come from peat, excluding fire emissions. We've also heard that importance in future to enhance best management practice for existing plantations and to restrict further developments in peatland. That's also the context in which the peatland working group was working. We have 25 million hectares of peat in the region. At the moment, according to the latest studies, 2.4 million hectares of peat in the region has been developed for oil palm plantations. So the challenges to sustainability of oil palm cultivation on peat include water management, fire prevention, subsidence, agronomy, and pests and diseases. So 2007, the work of the group was called for, in 2009, called for by the General Assembly, and the group was established in April 2010 with 20 members from growers, particularly growers, various peat experts and NGOs, and all that I'm presenting here is particularly from the expertise of the various group members. The group is co-chaired by Ibu Rosdiana of EPOC, and key leaders on the development of the particular tools have been Peter Lim of Tabung Haji Plantations and Arina Shaya from Wetlands International. There were 6 meetings, 3 site visits, multi-stakeholder workshops in 2 countries. There were 4 main products, 360 pages of them here, which will be published and made available soon. I won't go through every page of the results, but highlight some of the key issues, in particular relation to the impacts and the best management practice manual for oil palm plantations on peat. One of the key challenges in peat, as soon as you open and drain, you will get subsidence. So this is a 17-year period, about a 1 meter subsidence in 17 years. In a 20 or 25-year cycle, we're losing more than a meter, 1.3 meters of peat soil subsidence. And that has a very significant impact on the long-term viability of the plantations on peat. And related to the subsidence is this problem of palm leaning or lodging, which results in reduced yield and eventually a need to actually start the replanting after 20 rather than 25 years. Recent study has shown that it's very important to manage the water level. This is the #1 thing you need to do, and this yield study is showing that the highest yield is where you keep the water about 50 centimeters below the peat layer. So you allow some oxygen layer for the roots, but you keep the water close to the base of the roots. And this is very key for all work on peat. So water retention along collection drains with weirs for every 20 centimeter drop is a key issue. There are many problems, some which cannot be solved. Ganoderma stem rot cannot be solved. All you can do is try to reduce, and that leads to early replanting. Termite problems are also very major, but these can be dealt with, and the BMP manual describes them. One of the additional areas, we have a separate manual looking at how to manage HCV and buffer zones in peatland areas, where it's critical to maintain high water levels and prevent fire. For example, if the water level is kept too low along the boundary, then you can get the fire and degradation in the buffer zone, whereas high water level can maintain both the subsurface flow into the plantation as well as adjacent forest areas. In terms of the key recommendations to reduce emissions for low carbon plantations, obviously if one can avoid development of future plantations on peat, you can lead to maybe a 70 to 80% reduction in emissions. For the existing plantations, key issue is good water management, fire prevention, and good fertilizer management. So just to wrap up, in the long term, the key problem over a long time multiple cycle approach is the eventual subsidence of the peat dome area down to a level where it cannot be further drained. And this may occur between 25 or up to 75 years, and that may mean that areas may no longer be possible to drain by gravity, and it's not economically viable to use pump drainage for oil palm. So we're recommending an approach for looking at before the replanting to assess the viability of the future developments. Finally, the recommendations of the group: all RSPO members should use the best practice guidance for existing plantations on peat. Changes and improvements in practice should be documented, impacts monitored and reported back to future meetings for refining the practice. Good practice demonstration and pilot sites should be designated by members to benchmark standards, and further development of oil palm plantations on intact forested peatlands should be avoided. There is still a gap of work to be done for smallholders, some urgent need for getting advice, and then the next steps: promotion of the best management practice through training and outreach material, guidance for smallholders, and then we believe the peatland working group will need to continue its work, and we request any RSPO or other members here with existing peat areas in their plantation to contact us and collaborate with us in the future years to demonstrate how to reduce emissions and improve yield on peat plantations. Thank you very much.